everybody. Welcome to the Sales on Demand Show. I'm Adam Schneider. This is episode 141, and I'm going to talk about the good and the bad of Christmas 2022. The struggles that I'm having in doing business this year, and the good things I expect out of this year as well. So, of course, you can find all of my episodes at salesondemandshow.com / just go to salesondemandshow.com and you'll find all of my episodes there. You can also get them sent to you immediately on Google Play, YouTube, Apple, iTunes. I'm all over the place, everywhere. I'm even on Spotify. But no, I don't have a $100 million deal with Spotify like Joe Rogan, so I just have the free one. Well, anyway, it is almost the end of September, and there's a lot going on. This is probably the busiest month for me out of all of the months of the year, with maybe the exception of November. So I'm coming into October, and it just gets wildly busy, and I've got a bunch of things going on. All of them are exciting, and this is the month to really work hard. So I'm running a half marathon this weekend, and I'm going to be camping in the city because it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I live almost 2 hours away from the city. So no way am I getting up at 5:30 in the morning and driving all the way just so I can run a marathon. No way, man. I'm going to be staying overnight in my trailer, and I'm going to be trying to get as much of a rest as I can. This will be the longest I've ever run. I have been training for it, and I feel like my training has gone well, and I feel stronger than I've ever been in my entire life. But it is the longest distance I've ever run, and I'm sure it's going to be interesting. It's supposed to be a pretty good weather that day, so I'm going to make it through, even if it's a little bit rough. I'm going to complete it. I may have to walk a little bit in between, maybe I'll run 7 kilometers, walk a bit, run some more. There's quite a few hills on the course as well, which is going to be, I'm probably going to walk up those hills, man. I don't run up hills. That's not good. But yeah, I'll let you guys know next week how that went and what my time was. I'm thinking about 3 hours to run a half marathon. I'm not a fast runner, but that's okay. I'm only competing against myself. I'm not trying to win any prizes here. I just want to know that I can do it. Now, this is something else that's kind of funny is I tried to get in as much camping as I could this year, and I always get disappointed when the end of the season comes because I just don't feel like I got enough time to go camping. I just love camping. It's just so peaceful. Like you just busy yourself with making food and getting firewood and going outside, walking around. It's lovely, wonderful, great way to relax. One of the reasons I joined the military is because I like being outdoors. The problem with the military is that none of the fun parts of being outdoors are there, but all of the misery of sleeping outdoors. So in the Army, you go to bed at 11, there's no heat in your tent, and you wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and you're just back at it. So that's not a lot of fun, but I still wanted to do some camping. And I've discovered that there's a way that you can camp in the winter, and basically you bring a wood stove with you, this little itty bitty wood stove, and you set up a tent with a place for your stove to basically park it in the corner. And this really intrigued me, so I actually ordered a tent for this, and I bought a wood stove, and I got a cot and a sleeping bag. So I'm planning to go out and do some winter camping. And I might even make a YouTube channel out of that because I love watching other people go out and do this for some reason, and maybe I'll make some YouTube videos of me doing it just because why not, right? Um, then, of course, the last little project that I've got going on is a garden tower. So I bought this cool little machine, and it's basically an indoor garden setup. It's hydroponics. So you plant your seeds, and then when the seeds are big enough, you transplant them into this tower garden, and then it's got hydroponic, like a water flow, so it pushes water or nutrients through all of your plants, and it has light. So it's got grow lights built into this thing. It's really cool. I love this thing. It was not cheap, but I really like, I'm trying to purchase things that are long-term investments in sustainability, and this just seemed like a great way to get like food, fresh food in the middle of winter. It doesn't take a lot of electricity to grow. You just sort of need to, plan ahead, plant your seeds, and then transplant them into this thing. So I now have a bunch of seeds that are big enough to transplant into the main grow thing, and so I'm going to be doing that today, and that should be fun. I'm growing beans because I love eating fresh green beans, and I save my seeds. So the bean seeds that are growing in this in my seed pot are that's now the third generation of beans that I have planted and grown, and they're pretty well adapted to our climate here. Although it's going to be indoors, so it doesn't really matter. But I just love eating steamed green beans. It's one of my favorite vegetables to eat with butter. They're so good. So those are my projects for October. And now let's talk about how this year's going to look. So I've got good news and bad news. And I'm going to share with you the struggles of trying to manage a like six-figure business online. So, first of all, the good news, sales are way up. So, let me see what my current sales volume is on Amazon. So, I track these numbers on my Amazon seller app. The last 7 days of sales for me has been 175% higher than last year. So if you guys sell on Amazon, you probably know that you can look at your sales volume for the last 7 days, 30 days, and then the full year. So looking back on the last 30 days, my sales are up by 83% over the last year. So there seems to be a spike in sales just in the last 30 days and then the last 7 days as well, which is great. I don't really know what it is. Like, I mean, they're talking about, recession and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'm not seeing a recession in my sales. So that tells me that this year's probably going to be a very good Christmas. Now, maybe things will fall apart after Christmas. I strongly suggest or suspect that they will, but I mean, we'll deal with that when the time comes. The other good news is that, and I talked about this a little bit last week, is that Amazon had been limiting how much stock I could send in, which I was really kind of bummed out about. So if you guys don't know, selling FBA on Amazon is great, except Amazon can limit how much space you have to restock your products. And so, like last week, I had looked at my restock limits, and Amazon was like, okay, you can only send in 1,000 of standard size products, which is what all my mugs fall under. So they were like, okay, you can only send in 1,000 mugs. And I've already got well over 500 there. So I was like, that's not going to be very much. But the good news is that they've raised that limit twice now. And I'm now sitting at 1,600 as a limit. So I suspect that the more I sell, the more my inventory stock limit is going to go up. So that's good news, and I'm hoping to push that up to like 2,500, and then maximize how many mugs I send for Christmas this year, because I'm hoping to make $100,000 in sales. That's my goal, and I think I'm well on my way to that. It's yeah, I think I'm well on my way to that. We'll see how I do. I mean, if I got 90,000, I'd probably be happy with that. But I'm really pushing for that $100,000 over Christmas. That would be beautiful. So that's the good news. Now let's talk about the bad news. Well, inflation. Yeah, I've been griping about inflation, but this really drives it home. And when you're trying to restock products, so I've got a couple of products that I have an unconventional supplier for these products, and they're black mugs, and they have become very expensive. Like, all of my products have become more expensive, but these ones have gone up in price the most. And now there's it just if I sell them at my old price, I will not make any money. So inflation has basically gobbled up all of my profit margin for these particular products. And I've been looking into solutions, and I'm finding it difficult to get a solution, because I mean, I can buy the stock. I'm basically paying almost $7.30 per unit, whereas it used to be down at like $4 per unit just a year ago. Now, that's an insane amount of inflation. And a lot of it has to do with the cost of shipping. Like, shipping is just ridiculously expensive right now, thanks to the price of fuel. And the shipping is more than the actual cost of the product, and I don't really know. It almost seems outrageous that the shipping is that much, but I mean, I don't know where they're buying their shipping from, but it's $1,000 to ship products that cost $800. And I'm just like, what is going on here? I can't make a profit, with these prices. So I've been looking at some possible solutions, right? So one of the solutions that I was looking at is printing the mugs at home. If I can buy the mugs blank, then I can probably print them at home. Now, it's a little bit of a different process to print black mugs. You have to get a printer that can print white, and they have laser printers that have white toner. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I just need to actually get the laser toner printer, the white toner printer, and then I need to find blank black mugs. And I don't know where to get them. I've been looking everywhere for a bulk supply of black mugs that are just not printed already. Now, I could probably buy like 10 here and there, but I need like 1,000. 10 is not going to cut it. So that's a struggle, and I've looking at ordering them from China, but I just can't find a supplier for these, and it's wild. Like, I never thought that this would be the problem. It's really easy to find white mugs, but the black ones are really hard to find in bulk. And you can find black ones that are just a weird shape, the cafe style ones with the curved bottom, but I don't want those ones. That's not the product I sell. I need the normal looking ones. And I'm willing to order them from China, but I just need to make sure that I'm going to get what I need from them. So I was thinking about ordering them from China, having them shipped to me, packaging them up, and then driving across the border to ship them to Amazon. I'm already probably going to be doing that. I have a whole bunch of blank white mugs that I'm planning to. I've got my family members ready to crack and get into printing, mug printing again. I haven't done a lot of mug printing this year because I haven't needed to, but the once my suppliers are unable to print and ship my FBA, I'm going to have to. So the other problem with printing and shipping from home is the cost of printing and shipping from my house has gone up too because of the shipping. So I used to ship with UPS, and they would just come to my house and pick up the mugs. Like, I would just have a box of mugs, and they would drive up in their little van, and we'd put the mugs in the back, and it cost me, it was like $54, which was, it's not cheap, but it wasn't too bad. Well, the cost has gone up to over $100, and so that option is no longer viable. Like, I'm dealing with all this inflation here, and all of the former things that I was doing have become, untenable. So now my plan is I am going to have to cross the border. So I'm going to probably print like 10 or 12 boxes, load them up in my van or my truck, drive across the border, and then ship them from inside the United States. And shipping from inside the United States is much cheaper. So if I can get them across the border, that's all I really need to do. And then I can put an Amazon shipping label on them, which I can buy for $10 versus $100. And then they'll get to Amazon, quickly and efficiently. So there's just a whole bunch of messes that have been created because of the inflation problem. So this is the problem with selling physical products, is that you've got to deal with government interference in the marketplace. It's very annoying. Very, very annoying. And I blame, of course, Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau and every single government around the world that spent money on pandemics, right? All of this pandemic spending was the problem. Now, yeah, of course, the war in Ukraine was definitely an issue as well, but it's not the main issue. There's no question that the inflation started well before the war in Ukraine ever got underway. So there would have probably been some inflation, but the war in Ukraine is not the major driver of that inflation. It's just not. That's not even up for debate. That's just what you see in the data. So anybody who tells you otherwise, they're just lying, or they're, misinformed. Either one of those two things is true. They're either lying or misinformed, but it's not true. So that is a challenge that I'm going to have to face this year, and I really don't know how I'm going to manage that. I'm probably just going to have to raise my prices, and that is hard. Like, businesses are always being accused of profiteering or gouging customers. That's not true. Businesses do not want to raise prices. They don't, because they know that customers do not like price raises. They know that for a fact, right? When you got a corner store and the old man running the corner store has to go in and raise his prices, do you think he likes doing that? Do you think he wants to raise his prices? No, absolutely not. I've been doing this for years. I've been doing this for 5 years. I've been selling online, and I absolutely do not enjoy raising my prices because it's terrifying. You're worried that people are not going to buy your products. Business owners are not, we don't want to raise prices, but we have to. There is no choice here. It's not because we want to make more profits. It's because, the prices of the products that we buy have gone up. And in order for us to make an actual profit, we have to raise prices. There is no choice in the matter. So anybody that is claiming that, oh yeah, businesses are just taking advantage of the pandemic to raise prices, that's not true. We don't like raising prices because we don't know, raising prices drives away customers. And this is a competition. Whoever can keep their prices the lowest for the longest wins all the sales. Now, I think during the Christmas season, I'm going to start pushing my prices higher. I'm going to have to. I'm not going to have any profit margin left if I don't. So that is something I'm I'm come to terms with, and it just has to be done. Either that, or I find cheaper suppliers, and that's hard to do, right? You can hear from the last story I'm telling that finding suppliers has become a nightmare. It's just like it used to be fairly simple to get supplies of basic products, and it just becomes so much more difficult. Now, I'm not saying it's not worth it, but I am saying that the government makes it so much harder to do. It doesn't have to be this hard, right? I'm still happy about this. I'm still going to solve these problems. I'm still going to make a lot of money this Christmas season. But I would really love for the government to stop inflating the money so that I can have a reliable, cost for my products that doesn't go up 30% in a year, because it's very hard to find new suppliers when the suppliers that I had before were just fine. So, Joe Biden, Justin Trudeau, can you just please stop printing money? Congress and all of the Parliament in Canada, can you please stop approving new taxes and new spending? That would be awesome. Thank you. Signed, all of the business owners in Canada and the United States, and probably worldwide too. We would just love it for you to stop doing that. Anyway, I didn't mean for this episode to become a bunch of griping, but I really am still very optimistic about this year. I'm very good at problem solving, and I'm determined. Like, I don't sit there and groan about how hard things could be, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's going through the same issues, right? We're all seeing inflation. And the difference is between what I do for a living and what, some poor working class mother living in an apartment in the city, I can actually increase my income by like finding more products to sell, or just, working a little bit harder. But if you're on, a fixed income, or you're basically receiving a pay rate, a rate of pay, your costs are going up, and your wages are not compensating. So while we're all suffering from the same thing, owning your own business is more resilient. It's a more resilient way to weather these increases in prices, right? Like, my income goes up every year, probably by 10 to 30%. And I mean, that's a conservative estimate. If I really put my mind to it, I could probably double my yearly sales. And I think I'm probably going to increase my yearly sales this year by 30% over last year. I would say 30%, maybe more. And I'm going to do the same thing next year, right? I'm going to go and I'm going to increase my sales by 30% over this year, next year, because I know the strategies to do that. I know what I'm doing here. But I feel for people who are just stuck in these jobs, and there's no way that they can increase their income. If they get a raise, they're getting maybe, like, if you got a 4% raise this year, you still lost money. If you got a 6% raise this year, which would be a very good raise, if you got a 6% raise, you still lost money, because inflation is officially 8 point whatever percent, right? Officially. Those official numbers are garbage. They're garbage. They're nonsense. I have a friend who has a little apartment in the city, and he messaged me the other day, and he's like, my rent is going up by $250. His rent was something like, I think it was like $1,200. They're raising it by $250. That's like an 18% increase year over year. Don't give me this 8.3% nonsense. Inflation is crazy. And, it is the government that's causing this, and I feel for all of those people out there who are suffering with this. So I was saying this back when the lockdowns were occurring. I'm like, this is not going to, this is going to have consequences. Like, go look at my episodes from 2020 and 2021. I predicted this, not because I'm so smart, but because other smart people were saying the same thing, and they were right. And I repeated what they said, and I was right. because it's obvious. Printing money, putting money out there without putting the same goods and services to, compensate for it makes inflation happen. That's how inflation has happened, and it seems to be basically built into the system now. So if you haven't already done it, you need to start your own business. I know, yeah, it's a challenge, right? You hear about these challenges, but what kind of a challenge do you want? Do you want a challenge where you can't do anything about it, where you just have to sort of eat the cost? Do you want to be like my friend who had a $250 increase in his rent, and now he has to move? Like, he can't stay where he is now, with his rent at $1,500 a month. That's half of his income. He's on a fixed income. And he's like, yeah, I can't stay here. And I'm like, oh, that sucks, man. You just moved there. He moved there probably 2 years ago, and now he has to leave because he can't afford to stay. Do you want to be that, or do you want to be, in my position where it's like, okay, well, I'm dealing with inflation, but I can also increase my yearly income by finding more products to sell, by looking at other platforms. Like, there is so much more flexibility by owning your own business that it's just insane. It's insane. And I don't know how the rest of the world is coping with this. Like, all of the complaining that I do is nothing. I have nothing to complain about. I mean, I am complaining, but relatively speaking, I have very little to complain about. And I am aware of this fact all the time. And I feel for all of you people out there who are dealing with this. And I think the solution is you got to start your own business. You got to start your own business, and you got to take control of your life. So I'm going to leave it there with you guys. And that was both a black pill and a white pill in a way. But man, we can't be printing this money anymore. We need real sound money. So keep that in mind when it comes time to vote. And don't vote for people who sign spending bills that degrade the value of your money through inflation. All right, well, have a great rest of your September, and we'll see you guys in October. Adios.